Godzilla vs. Shimo. Ever since Godzilla's Kong the New Empire has dropped, one question has been roaming amongst the Godzilla community. Who is stronger between Godzilla and Shimo? And today, me and my friends Godzilla King of the Monsters and Viper aim to answer that question and determine just how close these two combatants actually are. And because this will be a breakdown video and not exactly a power scaling video, I tend to keep this intro short so that way we can go ahead and get right into the action. And with that being said, I hope you enjoy the video.
Hey everybody, nice to see that I'm being invited to different channels now, but I'm here to talk about Godzilla vs. Shimo in the ancient past. So, there's a lot we don't know about this fight. What we do know from the New Empire novel, GXK The Hunted, and from the COD crossover where it came from, is that sometime in the past, Godzilla fought Shimo by himself. Now what we see in the cave painting is pretty simple and straightforward. Godzilla is blasting Shimo, who is on her hind legs and roaring. But of course, knowing the New Empire novel, it gives the most wank interpretation for Shimo possible, because, well, as they literally did admit later, that's exactly what they were doing. But see, here's the thing. Since they literally do admit that it's just the artist projecting their feelings onto the fight, and we know that they did confirm that they were exaggerating Shimo the entire time, let's think about it logically. If Shimo wins this fight, Godzilla would have to be locked up deep in the Hollow Earth, and since we do know that her ice can hold for 1,000,000 years or more, since she is literally credited with freezing all of Greenland, how did Godzilla get away? He's not outrunning that thing. Her freeze beam doesn't take long to charge. She would have sniped him, and he'd just be down there. I've heard some cope that Godzilla ran away, but Godzilla doesn't run away. The only time we know of that Godzilla's run away from a fight is when he was a child fighting that rival Kong. Against Ghidorah, Mechagodzilla, Shimo, everybody, he stands his ground and fights to the death as an adult. So, it's unlikely Godzilla would retreat. He didn't lose, because he'd be stuck down in Hollow Earth in an ice cube. But something interesting is, well, we know that Shimo was in the place where Scar King and friends got sealed away. How could that be if Godzilla lost? And we know that he fought the Scar King and friends and sealed them away. So, unless she's the Flash and can phase her molecules between objects, then how did she get there? Last we hear of Shimo, she was in Antarctica helping fight Ghidorah. Now she's down in the Scar King's prison. That also begs the question of why they would even fight to begin with. Scar King in the cave paintings in the movie has the whiplash with the crystal on it. Then Godzilla seems to fight Shimo, who normally seems to be pretty chill, and he locked away Shimo in the deep place of the Hollow Earth, which would very much imply that she was involved in the war. But then the Iwi say that after the war, Scar King obtained her power, but she had to be down there where Godzilla sealed them for that to be the case. It makes more sense if Godzilla won this fight and scared Shimo off, and if it was in the war, then well, he did win. So while we don't know a lot of what happened in the fight, we know that Godzilla didn't lose.
Hello, Viper here, and today I will be helping explain the Hollow Earth fight in the film. So, to first start off, something to mention is that it's mentioned that Godzilla could almost adjust to the situation, and he was considered swimming. And the other Titans seem to be able to adapt to the situation as well, even with the gravity. So it wouldn't necessarily affect all that much since all the Titans just outright adapted to the situation. Even Godzilla going as far to see it as swimming and maybe even taking it as water. But besides the point, in most of their clashes it is not only shown, but stated in the novelization that Godzilla was just overpowering Shimo. Even the novelization goes as far to say as that Godzilla was recovering first when Godzilla kicked Shimo off of him. However, they do mention that Shimo is a lot bigger than Godzilla. It's just size, which obviously size doesn't mean a terrible amount much. It's just, oh yeah, Shimo's a lot bigger. But it does continuously like to mention how Godzilla was the one overpowering Shimo, and we see it too. Godzilla's kicking Shimo off of him. And even goes as far to state when Shimo froze him, which is to give credit where credit is due. Shimo did freeze Godzilla, and she maybe would have continued to freeze him if Martha didn't show up. It does mention a couple things. It mentions that Godzilla's atomic power was breaking through the ice and overpowering it, and that's how he escaped. The movie visually shows us this via him glowing, but the novel likes to call it out too. And it also goes on to state that in this scene, they originally thought that Shimo was overpowering Godzilla, but once Godzilla broke out and started to overpower Shimo again, their thoughts change, and they essentially imply, oh yeah, we thought Godzilla was getting overpowered, but now we were kind of wrong with that. So a lot of things do point to Godzilla having an advantage in the Hollow Earth, or at least in this portion of the fight.
And now finally, we come to the final battle in the New Empire. I just want to say before I get to my part, thank you to both Viper and King of the Monsters for featuring in this video and breaking down the different fights between Godzilla and Shimo. This was a pretty fun video to go over and discuss with them on Discord. But with that being said, I will of course be doing the final fight, which is the Rio fight. And for starters, we know that by the time Shimo and Scar King appeared in Rio, Scar King commanded Shimo to cause a storm and cover the sun over Rio. We also know that Shimu's just mere presence was able to just freeze the water. And now because of this frozen ice, Godzilla's actually trapped in there, which is why we see him blasting out with his atomic breath and just destroys the ice. And now when he does this, he actually is capable of knocking Shimo quite a far distance. And we actually see that this blast actually caused damage on Shimu's neck, on both sides actually. If you really pay close attention, her skin is actually like inflamed instead of just being like the normal white. Now after this, we see Godzilla charge at Shimo, and when he does, he knocks back Shimo and starts to drag her. But then a couple seconds later, we see that Shimo is using her brute force to push Godzilla back. And as they're fighting, we obviously see Scar King command Shimo to then attack Kong. So Shimo leads to attack Kong. But while she's charging after Kong, Godzilla comes out from the side, knocks Shimo down by the neck, and then pushes her onto the ground. And when she's pushed on the ground, Godzilla tries to get on top of her to try and like finish her off or whatever. But then Shimo uses her arms and tosses Godzilla off of her, and actually tosses him over a couple of city blocks in Rio. Now this toss, we actually hear Godzilla visually roar in pain. This obviously did him quite a bit of damage, but the novel actually proceeds to go a little bit in depth on the scene. And the novel kind of states that this toss from Shimo either stunned Godzilla or just injured him for a little bit of time. And now we see that that this does seem to be true, as it took Godzilla quite a bit of time to get up back from the ground. I mean, by the time we see him get up, he's like trying to like shake off like the damage. And then obviously he goes into a spiral state. And now in the spiral state, after he makes Scar King run away, he goes after Shimo, who's currently attacking Kong. And when Godzilla goes to attack Shimo, Godzilla shoots her on the neck. And if you actually zoom in, there's actually some damage on the right side of Shimo's neck. Now this damage, unfortunately, does go away, and it doesn't stay there. So we can either say it as Godzilla is capable of causing temporary damage on an opponent that can deal some good damage, or simply just a CGI issue. However way you want to put it, Godzilla is capable of damaging Shimo and actually leaving quite a big injury on her. And now after this, if you pay really close attention, we actually see that Godzilla pushes Shimo through a building in his spiral state, in the background of while Kong and Scar King are fighting over the crystal. And then we see as Suko destroys it, Shimo is getting tossed over by Godzilla. She's getting pushed down to the ground. And now, you could potentially say that Godzilla is just so powerful he's kind of stun-locking Shimo, as Shimo's just kind of standing there. She's not attacking or anything, so Godzilla could very possibly have just stunned Shimo to the point where she just couldn't move in that state, for, like, momentarily, which allowed Godzilla to overpower and knock her over. And now after everybody gets back up from the crystal explosion, obviously they kill Scar King, and after this Godzilla is shown dispersing Shimo's storm in the spiral state. Now there's this really goofy scene of when Godzilla is getting rid of the storm. Shimo kind of looks up, and it's kind of like in a face of shock. Like, she's kind of impressed by Godzilla's power. She's kind of like, wow, I didn't know that you had this much power. This is incredible to see. Like it almost seems like Shimo is kind of baffled by this power. Like, she's just shocked. Like, she doesn't really, like, think much of it. But that's kind of it for the real fight. It kind of sucks that we don't get a lot to go off of Shimo and Godzilla here, as it mainly focuses on Kong and Scar King. However, we do get some insight on how Evolved and Shimo take place. And now I'm going to quickly summarize the past 3 fights that we all went over in this video. Now, in terms of the ancient past, as King of the Monsters explains, it seems more reasonable for Godzilla to have won, based on the many points of him bringing it up, like why is Shimo in Scar King's prison, why are they fighting against each other, all things like that. In terms of Hollow Earth fight, all the Titans, Godzilla, Shimo, Scar King, and Kong, all very quickly adapted to the Hollow Earth gravity. So nobody was at a disadvantage here. But in the Hollow Earth fight, it does seem that Godzilla does take an edge over Shimo by constantly throwing her off of him, overpowers like her ice beam, which causes the humans to retract their statement of Shimo being more powerful. And then in terms of the real fight, where it's more kind of grounded instead of like an aerial battle, I guess. Shimo is kind of capable of one-shotting Godzilla, I guess, by tossing him and like causing him to be stunned for quite some time. So it should be like Godzilla is stronger than her in ancient times, the Hollow Earth fight, but not by a large margin. And then in the real fight against Shimo and Base Evolved, Shimo should be slightly superior here on a land fight. But in terms of the Spiral state, Spiral is just visually shown to overpower her pretty easily, I would say. And I don't think her being off-guarded in the first shot really does anything, because even after she gets back up and she can attack, she still just kind of gets overpowered. So I wouldn't really say that because she's off-guarded, it necessarily means that, she was weaker in this point. But with that being said, that's kind of all that's kind of it for the analysis on Godzilla vs. Shimo. Once again, thank you to King of the Monsters and Viper for appearing in this video and doing their segments. Thank you to you guys for watching this, and if you guys would like to see more videos like this where we do breakdowns of specific fights in like the Monsterverse and other fights in different eras, I would be more than happy to do that. I would also like to say that the next video I will post will probably be the Ultima video, but that one is taking some time since there's a whole lot of scans to go over for him, and I'm still trying to figure out how exactly I want to do it. So in the meantime, this was your guys' video. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.